Hello guys, welcome back to another video. As you can see, the location is a little different this time around. That's because I'm in my room. Because of the movement control order, which means every Malaysian has to work from home until the end of the month. Still, the show must go on, so today's video is going to be a comparison between two flagships that cost the same. The Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus and the OPPO Find X2. They're both priced at 3,999 ringgit and they have very similar features. So which one is more worth your money? Let's find out. Now, the biggest difference between the two, despite being priced the same, is that the OPPO Find X2 comes with 5G support. The Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus does not. Now, in Malaysia, only the S20 Ultra comes with 5G, the rest does not. So for the same price, you get 5G with the OPPO. Now, what about the more nuanced differences between the two? Now, both phones actually have the same display size at 6.7 inches. Both also have 120Hz refresh rate and 1440p resolution. The main difference is that the OPPO Find X2 can enable both 1440p reso and 120Hz refresh rate at the same time. The S20 Plus, however, you have to pick either one. You want 1440p resolution or 120Hz refresh rate. Samsung said that they're working on an update to enable both at the same time, but it's not here yet. So OPPO definitely takes the point here. Now, both display panels are HDR10 Plus certified. The OPPO Find X2 has this new feature called the O1 Ultra Vision Engine, which OPPO says can smoothen even a low quality video and sort of make it have that 60 frames per second kind of smoothness, which is really interesting. Now, in terms of brightness and colors for the display, the OPPO Find X2 is definitely much more vivid compared to the Galaxy S20 Plus, which has a more yellowish tint to it. That can be changed in the settings, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. But what you should be worried about is the brightness. The OPPO Find X2 is definitely much more brighter at max settings compared to the S20 Plus, making the OPPO the better phone to use when you're outdoors. Now, when it comes to audio, both phones have dual stereo speakers at the top of the phone and at the bottom of the phone. Both also support Dolby Atmos, so the audio quality is great on both phones. The difference is that I think the OPPO has a boomier bass and has more depth, while the S20 Plus is brighter. But if you want loud audio, the OPPO definitely handles loud volumes better than the S20, which tends to crackle just a little bit at max volume. Now, when it comes to performance, which is my favorite part, the OPPO Find X2 comes with a Snapdragon 865 chipset with 5G support. The S20 Plus comes with an Exynos 990 chip with no 5G support. The OPPO Find X2 also takes the cake here with 12GB of RAM, which is more than the S20 Plus. The Find X2 also has more internal storage space at 256GB. The S20 Plus only has 128, but can be expanded via micro SD card of up to 1TB. When it comes to gaming, both phones will handle every game currently in the market right now with absolutely no problems whatsoever. Alright, moving on to your favorite part, cameras. The Find X2 has a 48MP main lens, a 12MP ultra-wide lens and a 13MP telephoto lens. The S20 Plus, however, has a 64MP telephoto lens, a 12MP wide and ultra-wide lens on top of a depth vision camera that we saw in the Note 10 last year for your time of flight, 3D scanning and VR stuff. For the camera test, both phones had HDR turned on and was shot in their default resolutions. When coming to the photos, the Find X2 produces the brighter image and has more natural colors. But the sky towards the back seems just a little overexposed. The Samsung is darker and has oversaturated colors, and it's sort of almost stylized. On the next shot, color and tone reproduction is more accurate on the Find X2. The Samsung, although this time is just as bright, again oversaturated in the colors. Same story here again, but the ultra-wide lens on the Samsung gets more subject into its frame Edge distortion, however, on both is actually kept at a minimum. When it comes to high-res photography, the OPPO can shoot at 48 megapixels while the Samsung shoots at a higher 64 megapixels. The difference is clear when you zoom in on the leaves. The Samsung gets so much more detail compared to the OPPO. Next up are portrait shots. Both phones didn't blur the leaves behind the road sign, but it looked like the OPPO had better subject background separation. The Samsung, however, is brighter, and both bokeh effects don't look amazing, but the OPPO does look a bit more natural. When it comes to zooming, the S20 Plus definitely has the higher resolution telephoto lens, and it can zoom up to 30 times thanks to AI. Meanwhile, the Find X2 can zoom up to 20 times digital. At 5 times zoom, the Samsung gets more detail again thanks to the high-res lens, and the further you zoom in, the difference is more noticeable. But the OPPO doesn't fall too far behind. At max zoom, however, the Samsung still retains a lot of detail even at 30 times zoom. Meanwhile, OPPO maxes out at 20 times and is already pixelated compared to the Samsung. When it comes to macro mode, the OPPO does struggle to get what I want in focus, even at the 3cm working range OPPO claims. That's why in this photo I had to move back a little just to get the subject in focus. The Samsung does a better job at close-up shots and gave me the image that I had in my head. One new feature that I have to mention that's available on the Galaxy S20 Plus is the single take feature, which uses all your lenses at the back to take a short clip or image of an event or a scenario, and you can pick and choose from the gallery later on which one you want. Videography is also another big talking point for both phones. The S20 Plus can shoot up to 8K resolution at 20 frames, while the OPPO shoots up to 4K at 60 frames or 30 frames. Although 8K is cool for people who want to get into professional videography, especially with the 24 frames for the Hollywood style shots, the file is going to be absolutely massive and will eat away at your storage in no time. At least with the OPPO, it still allows you 4K at 30 frames if you still want that Hollywood shot without taking up too much space. Then there's their stabilization tech. OPPO calls theirs ultra steady, Samsung calls theirs super steady. Yeah. The Samsung is the clear winner here with the more steady shot. Now we talk about selfies. OPPO can shoot 32 megapixel shots, which are not pixel bin, so you get the full resolution. Meanwhile, the S20 Plus can shoot at 10 megapixels only. Despite that, the subject, which is me, retains as much detail as the OPPO, but with the higher res lens, the OPPO packs more details in the surroundings like my shirt and the guitar at the back. Portrait selfies. The OPPO takes the brighter shot. Image separation on both is actually quite good. Both phones eat up a little bit of my hair, but the bokeh effects on both look more or less the same without being too artificial. But what you need to consider when picking between the two phones is battery life and battery size. The OPPO Find X2 has a smaller 4200 mAh battery. The S20 Plus has a bigger 4500 mAh battery. But traditionally, Snapdragon chipsets tend to have better battery life compared to the Exynos. Mr. Who's the Boss, who is a popular YouTuber, did a test on his YouTube channel between the S20 Ultra, one which had the Snapdragon 865, another one with the Exynos 990. He found that the Snapdragon has much better battery life than the Exynos. Now for our own test with the OPPO and the S20 Plus, we have found that to be true. Now both phones have been set to the same display settings, 60Hz at 1080p, and after a while of benchmarking, gaming and video consumption, the OPPO always had 2% more battery life compared to the S20 Plus, which has a bigger battery. On top of better battery life, the Find X2 also supports up to 65 watts of fast charging. The fast charging adapter actually comes in the box, so you don't have to worry about that. The S20 Plus only supports up to 25 watts of fast charging, so it has weaker batteries and slower charging. So I think OPPO gets the point here. When it comes to software, both phones ship with Android 10. The S20 Plus of course ships with One UI 2.1. Meanwhile, the OPPO ships with ColorOS 7.1. And in my opinion, it's the best ColorOS version to date. It gives you a proper Android 10 experience without too much nonsense. But it does have the green OPPO theme at certain areas in the phone, so that is subjective whether you like it or not. Now by now you can probably tell both phones are actually very similar, but with very important differences. At the end of the day, for the same price, the OPPO Find X2 is the more complete package, especially for a premium flagship. Better battery life, better performance, faster charging, more RAM, and 5G support. So this will future-proof you even more than the S20 Plus. But if you're into professional videography or photography, then maybe the S20 Plus would be a better pick. But honestly, the Find X2 doesn't fall far behind with the camera setup either. It still feels very premium and it gets the job done. At the end of the day, for 3,999 ringgit, getting the Find X2 is definitely the smarter choice. And now is a really good time to buy the Find X2 and Find X2 Pro because you can get discounts of up to 250 ringgit thanks to promo codes provided by OPPO. You can also get other smartphones along with the Anko Q1 and Anko Free earbuds, all at a discounted price from now until March 31st. You can order all these devices from the comforts of your own home via the OPPO online store. These codes and website link are available in the description box below. Well, that's it from me today. This is my little video in my little room. Let us know what you think. Do you prefer to go for the OPPO Find X2 or would you prefer to go for the Galaxy S20 Plus? Let us know in the comment section down below. Until next time, this is Victor signing off.